Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, update for Monday, September 30th, 2013. Kind of continuing my work with the bolt together joint. I've got a smaller piece of 2-inch square tubing. It's only about half an inch tall, and I've put through the the 1 inch and the 3/4 inch pieces. I got 2 holes, not quite as close to the edges as I had before, so that they will actually not interfere with the side walls and stuff when I'm trying to put the bolts in. And this edge on the bottom is important. Before, in my last joint, I couldn't get a screwdriver underneath to pop this off after these were bolted down, so I fixed that. It's now possible to pop it off with a screwdriver or a wedge or a wrecking bar, and that's how I'm hoping it works. Here we have the piece of 2-inch tubing, the assembly that I've put together here. Line it up on the edges, and then we're going to take the transfer punch, just tap it on each of the 4 holes to mark where the centers are, drill it on the drill press, and then get the bolts put through. Okay, bolts are about 3/8 from the edge of the aluminum ends, 1 3/4 inch pieces. The holes are centered about 3/8 from the ends. Not quite in the center, but they're close. You put the 2-inch bolts in from underneath, wiggle them around. You pull them through by tightening up the nuts. Then you take the nuts off, put the lock washer on. Then we're going to tighten them up. Do the ones that are furthest away from the end first, and then we're going to do these ones. We're going to, before we do the final tighten on them, we're going to get them as close to square. You can see that this isn't quite square. I got to rotate it clockwise a little bit. But we'll get all the bolts in, we'll get them rough tightened down, we'll get them rotated as close to square as we can, and then we're going to be tightening them up for their final tightening. Get this little alignment piece of 2-inch tube off, and then put the other tube on. Okay, here we are with all 4 bolts in, and this thing came off, so it was on here. Used a screwdriver to pry it off on the edges. I got a little bit of damage on the outside, but the inside edge is still clean, so I should be able to reuse that. Okay, here's the 60-inch tube. There's the bolted together connection. I'm going to see if the miracle occurs and this fits. Yeah, it seems to be pretty good all the way around. Like a wooden block. Without a screw sticking out of it. And just smack it a few times. Feels like we've gotten on the edge there. I'm going to have to switch to a sledgehammer. A little bit more force. The block on the top of the aluminum so it doesn't get bent. Adjust hopefully to vertical. Felt like it slid on. And a little bit left here, so we'll just keep tapping it down. Actually, maybe we'll check for squaring. Any adjustments would sort of have to be done before we get too much further. I'd say we're about an eighth out. This joint is too far, so it's more than 90 degrees, maybe 92, 93. I'm going to hit on this side. Any difference? Okay, we're meeting at the back and we're not at the front. Just going to try and bend this over. A bit more. Okay, we've got about the same gap all the way around. An eighth of an inch. Okay, I'm on the back, front, still a little bit of room. And I expect it not quite square. Oh, we are close. Maybe that's just the edge. We're touching on one side. Okay, we've got a little bit more to go on that side. This side's flush. We'll give this a little bit more of a tap. That's a solid. Let's see what that did. Okay, so you'll notice that there's a slight bit of a twist. This should be about like that. So, have to account for that. And yeah, that's pretty much 90 degrees. Okay, so that's it for this section. Now I'm going to drill a hole through here and put a bolt, and then we're ready to start testing. As you can see, or maybe you can't see, the nut over here is actually right up against the metal. There's a very thin portion of aluminum on this tube that hasn't been cut through by the drill bit. You can actually score marks on this side with the drill bit. So the 1-inch steel piece that's in here is providing good support. The 3/4-inch aluminum piece beside it, inside the tube here, is probably a little thin on the bottom. So if this joint survives the first part of the testing, I expect that it will likely break when we bolt this up to the wall and push up here and stress it this way. But if it passes the rest of the tests, which this is actually the last test we'll go this way. If it passes the rest of the test, I will be more than happy. Okay, quick retake. The last test will be pushing this way on the joint, and if it lasts until then, I will be happy. Okay, here we are doing our calibration test. You can't see that. I got 223 point, well, actually 224 it settled out at. So that's what it thinks. This scale, line it up on 36 inches, zeroed out. I got about 222, a hair over 222. So again, within a couple pounds is good enough for me. So we're going to build up the weight on top of it to get it squared up. We'll get the hydraulic jack out here and we'll get started. Okay, you'll notice that we're showing just under 25 pounds, maybe 24. 36 inches lined up with the inner edge here of the hydraulic jack, so that's the closest that it's doing pressure, so we'll count that as the contact point. And I've got to check for square. Okay, so we're going to check for initial square here with the hydraulic jack not touching at all. So what I've got is my caliper. Sitting on the side, sitting on the bottom, I guess. I'm looking at about a millimeter off square at the end of a 16-inch square. So that's decent. Now we will pump up the hydraulic jack using the right end. Pump it up till it makes contact. Right there. Okay. We're going to zero the scale. It's at 26.5 pounds right now, so I guess we are making contact. Let's go this. That's pretty close to zero. So there we are with it zeroed.